if we now seriously would move everything into 3D content creation, how would such a process look like? So we designed a process that once we have a 3D asset, there is no human anymore in the loop. The entire content creation chain is automatically done.
Welcome to Inside ALLSIDES, the podcast on all the topics around 3D, AI, with leading scientists, researchers, pioneers really in the industry, but also those, of course, who bring it on the ground, who apply it for many, many years in a successful way. And I couldn't be happier to welcome Matthias Haase to this podcast, partner of us now for quite some time. Lots to learn from him for sure, due to his many, many years in the content production industry for e-commerce. Our first guest from, let's say, this part of the world when it comes to e-commerce. So I couldn't be happier. Matthias, welcome.
Thank you so much. Super happy to be with you.
Maybe just to introduce you a bit for those, of course, who are new to these topics and listening in or don't know you or the company that well, VP Zalando Content Solutions. So Zalando, I think the major e-com player when it comes to fashion out of Europe, basically present in so many countries. And that's an understatement as well, because you offer many, many services on top of it. And perhaps you can go into this later on, but also co-CEO of DeepAR, a very specialized company focusing on the topics of augmented reality, AI, 3D, I would say. It's a Zalando Group company as of last year. And I didn't forget anything, right, Matthias?
No, that's it. That's good. Thank you.
Okay, that's a good start. I think, and this is why this conversation is so exciting to me, I think you're running probably one of the largest, if not the largest, toughest, most innovative content creation when it comes to 3D and AI in Europe today, for sure, if not globally. We have a pretty good insight into this type of market as well. And frankly, what you guys have built is staggering. But from, this is now the end, not the end of your story, but let's say we go back a bit in time and how this all started. And I learned that you had a past in VFX, which I find fascinating now that you came to this part and the evolution of content creation, but also from VFX to running very large creative teams and content operations. If you could, just take us through the journey and also some of the things that you spotted along this journey that are relevant for our conversation.
Yeah, happy to do so. And yes, that's correct. I run a VFX company basically back in the day, specialized on 3D. So from the early days in my life, in starting in 2003-4, we ramped up a 3D business. And what I basically experienced quite soon, especially in this business, is you can go different areas and routes, right? You can go into creating very bespoke high-end content. Or back in these days, you can also go a second approach, high quality content at a very scale level. And that's what we choose as a company. And that's where also my expertise sits into. So we basically created back in the days 3D content, visual effects, backlots for TV shows and running big TV shows with daily episodes and things like this. And we always were joking with my colleagues that studied together with me, because some of them, they worked on a Hollywood movie, right? Working 6 months on a 20-second visual effect scenes. And basically we run 50 minutes daily TV shows in a certain way with also 3D incorporated and virtual backlots. So that's where basically also my passion sits. And where I grew the expertise. And after a couple of years, now 11 years ago, basically, I've started at Zalando exactly with this ambition to bring and to elevate basically our customer experience with more inspirational and more engaging content, not with the focus in the very beginning on 3D, right? It was on typical product image photography, basically. And all around this is basically on the ask of our customers, when we listen to our customers. And over the course of the recent years, basically, we more and more get the feedback that our customers would love to get more inspired. Our customers love to better understand the products they buy into, right? And especially in the recent 1 to 2 years, our younger customers, Gen Zs, we've learned from them that they are not coming on our app, basically on our platform, with a clear intent to buy. They come on an inspirational journey. So the question to us was, how does this inspirational journey looks like, right? And it is a mix of getting inspired on a product, learn something, but also once you are on a product discovery and once you see and identify something, you want to really see the most out of it. And you need to understand, or the customers want to understand basically how this product resonates to their lives and to their personal experiences, right? So, and since then we basically developed our entire product related experience. So we've added more contextual images. We added more content. We added more attributes, more information, more on the technical side also on things. But then we learned this is not enough. So we went into motion, right? We started quite early experiments on how does motion video work. So with this learning, we also changed our app October last year to a video first experience, basically. So if a product has a video, you open the app and you look at the product, the first thing you see is the video experience in the end. And we do this today at a scale that all new assortment basically gets these products. And you spoke about the innovation factor that my team basically brings to as a capability to our company. And that's basically the entire way of AI content. So these videos today are already fully automated created in a way leveraging AI technologies. So this is one thing. But then also, and we today also we talk about 3D, right? So how can we bridge the experience that you have in an offline store, basically, when you go out there shopping versus our online platform, right? So, and there is a certain gap. And we see the opportunity with 3D in smaller or even bridging this gap, because the next level for us beyond the video is that our customers can virtually try on these products, or they can look at the products from all angles they like to have, right? So in a 3D player. And that's once we are coming up with the idea that, hey, 3D can be the next level of the experience, basically, after we introduced videos.
Yeah, I mean, quite a story. Fantastic introduction. Thank you. And it seems like the stars aligned, right? In terms of certain developments. At one point, you have, the end customer, the consumers, the people that, your platform engages with, Gen Z, you mentioned it, demanding more of an experience and the starting point for fashion than just, already made up mind and then coming to buy the product. On the other hand, I think also if you look at the tools that are available, especially to then the content production industry, I think they changed quite dramatically over the past 2-3 years as well. Do you find it now easier in these days to deliver a certain type of content that you wish that you could already deliver maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago? How do you think about that, sort of the evolution of what you can work with, essentially? Because you cannot do magic. You're coming from VFX. I mean, maybe it crossed your mind to do some crazy things with the products and with 3D already, but you just didn't have the means to do so at scale, right? We always talk about at scale here.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's very important to understand, right? At Zalando, we offer millions of products to our customers, and basically all solutions need to be really scalable, right? Scalable to 100,000 of different products. And there see the largest difference, and also what advantages basically the technology brings. So when I think about without AI technology, we would not be able basically to offer the elevated experience that we do today, just because of we were not be able to scale it in a way that the technology helps us to scale, right? And the same for us is important on the 3D side. I do think 3D technology is definitely not super new. We spoke about, right? So even where I started my career basically was in 3D business years ago. But what I believe, we never saw a successful case, especially in fashion, where someone integrated a 3D experience at a scale. When I look at, and when I speak to other companies and I look at some cases, I always see this very promising pilot cases, right? But what we quite early learned is that, especially on the 3D side of things, it's from my perspective, one of the most complex content types and formats that we have. Let's be honest, right? It's
also one of the most expensive ones, right?
It's also one of the most expensive one. So how can you crack this? You can crack it with a clear expertise, with great partners in the collaboration, basically, but also with a clear mandate and focus that you are, and that's what we did basically, that you are committed to move in a certain assortment group on our side at Zalando to this way of creating content. And once you are going beyond a pilot, basically, you need to review your entire operations. You need to review how your team setup is done today. And that's what we have done, basically. We did an analysis and we asked ourselves, what's the missing factor? And the answer of this is, okay, if we take this serious, we will not become a 3D experts or 3D experts within in a couple of months. So we basically were looking for partners. And so we partnered up with DeepAR as a company. And there we said, there is a clear backend in 3D. We have a clear team that brings expertise in augmented reality, in the 3D player, in the backend that we need. So this gave us the speed and the expertise, but then also in the entire process chain of how we create content, we were looking into opportunities, how you can deal with the complexity, but also how you can deal with you mentioned it, higher costs, right? So we brought everything on the table and we said, hey, usually we would have images, the standard images we have. Then we would do elevated PDP with let's say, engaging backgrounds, contextual backgrounds. We do videos. And all of this is adding costs in your content creation if you do it physically, right? So, and we then said, okay, and we also have certain team members in this process and other companies basically we work with. So there is also quite a complex process. If we now seriously would move everything into 3D content creation, how would such a process look like? So we designed the process that once we have a 3D asset, there is no human anymore in the loop. The entire content creation chain is automatically done. And we even go beyond, right? So it's done in the Zalando way. But if our partner would say, hey, I like the same thing, I like content for that shoe, or but I need to have it in my own sales channel, own.com, or for my other partners, it's a no-brainer, right? We execute automatically the content in for different use cases. And with such a thinking, and if you combine then the additional experiences you get, we mentioned augmented reality, right? A 3D experience. So we are adding more experience to our customers and possibilities to discover products. And if you all add this together, the question of the cost of that content becomes a different one, right? Because you are putting different, let's say, different buckets into one bigger bucket. And so it becomes more effective in the end.
Now, and this is so interesting. And of course, when you explain it like this, I mean, it all sounds so logical, explained in 3 minutes. Obviously, you would do this. Right now, you look at the broader landscape of e-commerce with certain PDPs of the brands and of other retailers and so on. And what is striking to me is that, yes, of course, you did your test and your analysis, you brought the right people on board, but at some point also there's a leap of faith. You decided to do it, which was something very hard to do, and you did it immediately at scale. What do you think is holding maybe some others back in this? Is just this pure, the Zalando way of doing? You have very engaged C-suite that basically are the founders of the company. They can make decisions like that for the greater good of the company. You guys are quicker and faster to market. Is that a simple way to explain it? Or is there more behind it? And maybe this helps also for others to kind of have an outlook on how they could do it themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe that at Zalando, we are quite a unique and very innovative, forefront looking company when it comes to clearly focusing and when it comes to customer experiences and how we serve the needs to our customers, right? So we go all in on these things, but we don't do it blindly, right? So over the course of the last years, we learned a lot what resonates with our customers and where we are getting basically positive signals back. And it can be in different stages, right? We look into things where we can grow our business with, right? But we also look into ways where we help our customers to make a better purchase decision that not naturally leads to more conversion. Because if you discover a product even better that you anyway would have returned, you better do not order it before returning it, ordering and return it. So there is definitely lots of learnings we did. And based on these learnings, basically, we then, yes, went back to the management board and said, hey, we do have this great opportunity. We believe strongly in this big role 3D content can play, especially nowadays when I mentioned it before, the Gen Zs that are looking for more inspirational content, more elevated content, more opportunities to discover products. And here we have a strong belief that the 3D content can play a big role into it. So clearly saying, I don't believe it's how we're doing it today is already fully functional in all ways and is the best use of it. As you know best, creating the 3D asset is still one of the most expensive and complicated process steps. And I do think there we need to gain efficiencies going forward. But ideally, you create this only once, and then you use this basically in all your different use cases you have. And once we are there, basically with such an understanding and with partners also that jump on this understanding, I think then in the industry, we can gain the most out of it. Because what's the reality today? The reality is we have a physical product and we are sending us across the world in every single photo studio because and it's the same process for every retailer, right? Taking pictures, adding attributes, bringing it online. And this process basically repeats for every single company in a certain way. And here we think about the 3D technology can really help us to change this process, basically.
Absolutely. And of course, we built the company, focused entirely in that. So of course, we couldn't be more bullish about it. One thing that you said was very interesting is the multiple uses across an organization. And this might differ slightly from, let's say, a brand that is also producing, let's say, in this case, a shoe or any kind of product, which, could 3D being leveraged also from the factories to multiple other, verticals within the company. Now, staying, for instance, with Zalando and the typical online retailer, do you see your assets being leveraged beyond the PDP already, or let's say the 3D assets, into marketing campaigns and other ways and form that the organization could benefit from this? Is this already happening right now?
Yes, it is. And it was also in the very beginning, even before 3D, right? When we invested into elevated content with contextual backgrounds and all of those things. That's the model how we finance it. So you need to think about when it comes to PDP content, and this was over the course of the last years, also within Zalando, it was kind of, okay, PDP content. We need to, if we want to sell online a product, unfortunately, we have to take photos and to show it to our customers, right? And what's the thing? You want to do it fast, cheap, and super efficient in the end, right? So that was the focus. And you create, based on these key areas, you basically create content that only lives unique in the PDP, because the content is not good enough to use it in any other ways in the company, in other placements, on-site, off-site, right? And what we've basically tested is we said, hey, let us invest more into PDP content. And by getting richer content, we leverage these content at the same time in our marketing channels, on-site and off-site. And if you then combine the costs of what it takes usually to create a marketing asset, PDP content creation, even if you increase your standard production costs 5 times, it's still super cheap, right? So, and there's another angle coming. Usually marketing content does not feature the most freshest assortment because it takes time to plan such a marketing campaign, and then you look for assortment, you go on the shoot, and so on and so forth. But if you are producing basically rich enough content out of the photo studio that focuses on the pure assortment photography in the end, right? If you create such enriched content that you use it in your marketing campaigns, it's the freshest assortment you can get. So 50% of the products, our photo studios take the pictures and do the 3D scans and all those things. They come with samples. They come weeks before the product even launches at Zalando, right? And with this, it's basically we automatically launch new campaigns with the most freshest assortment you can get. And we spoke about the scalability on Zalando. So even if we do not have a sample, for us, scalability and speed is an important factor. So in our chain, 3D model creation, so scanning and rendering the content, having everything online is a 4 to 8 hours thing. within 48 hours, even for that assortment where we do not have samples up front, basically, right? It takes 48 hours to bring it online, to launch a campaign and everything. And if you consider that, basically, that speed you wouldn't reach with a marketing campaign, right? In the end. And this is also the way how we are thinking about the entire business model that we have behind. I agree, the increased PDP content creation costs, but if you think about how we leverage it in the entire ecosystem, it's a very efficient way.
Speaking about the ecosystem, Matthias, one question that we often get, I mean, you know that we work with many other customers, many different brands in the world, and them seeing what you guys are pulling off, setting a new standard for how content production should be done and how the exploration should take place. They sometimes start to question, of course, why cannot they not pull it off? How did they react? What is some of the feedback that you got from some of the creative teams that you were working on the partner side with for many, many years already?
Yeah. So here I have to say, right, why can't they do that? Many of our partners do it, but they do it in a very small scope in the end, or in these pilot stages, right? So, and the conversations basically we have indeed are around, hey, how can we partner up with these things, right? So how can we do it jointly, maybe even better? Because the intent of Zalando, and also there is a significant investment to get the things going, right? So in 3D, but our idea behind is that we are creating a flywheel. So we're gonna invest into the 3D to start the wheel spinning, basically, and then we're looking forward to have our partners joining the entire experience, that we jointly create the most amazing experience for our customers on the platform in the end. So that's the idea, and we clearly think this goes beyond our platform itself. That's why we think into the ecosystem, and while content also becomes a service where with such technologies, you invest only once and you can leverage in your multiple channels that you have as a brand partner, right? So we have very promising conversations. We have conversations of growth. We also have conversations of some partners reaching out and saying, what's that for an experience, right? What is this background? Why is the background looking like this, right? And here I'm also in conversations with our brand partners and our buying colleagues. I said, hey, it's always easy, right? If you have a white background, there is less to have an opinion about it. It's a white background, right? So in the moment when you start adding something, and it can be good or bad, doesn't matter. But if you add more, you have automatically more opinions, right? Because there's more to debate about. So what I can share is basically our early learnings, where we did fantastic, right? We created the most amazing backgrounds to the products. I think we focused a lot about the high quality of the product, because for us, we don't do it for fun. We do it that our customers can experience the product in more detail. So for that, the scans and the 3D model needs to be as accurate as possible, as sharp as possible, needs the image details and the 3D experience. But then also one learning I can share, we did so fancy backgrounds partially that they were more in the foreground than the product itself. So and this is a learning basically where we now currently are in a situation where we are reviewing our entire experience, and we say, okay, in certain areas we dial down a little bit in the noisiness, in the presence of the background, and give more presence to the product in the foreground, which I think is the important part, because that's why we do it, right? Yeah. But that's a learning. I do think, in the moment when you need to think about with 3D and also with AI, you can leave the physical borders, right? Usually, if you shoot outside, there is always complexity like time, budget, having the right surrounding, and so on and so forth. In the moment when you go fully into virtual with 3D, for example, you can do everything what you like to do, right? The question is, if you can do whatever you like, is it always the best? Sometimes maybe not, right? So, and that's the learning the team is currently in.
No, absolutely. And it gives you just, again, if it's economically viable, just so many more opportunities also with regards to seasonalities, right? And also with regards to aligning a certain product with, in this case, a retailer's image and brand. I think this is very, very powerful. Besides, the elevated content you were mentioning. And so it's very interesting. Staying for 1 second with the backgrounds, we get this a lot. How is this being done? How do they do it? Maybe you can shed a bit of light on let's say, the role of DeepAR and maybe it's not just focused on the backgrounds. I know it's going way wider, but staying for a second with the backgrounds, how they are created today, maybe you can explain this a bit, and of course in a systematic way. And where do you think maybe the future is going? I think the technology is in the very nascent stages. It's still clumsy. The output is, I would say, not quite there, but one could see where this is going. How do you think about that? How things are currently done and maybe where they could go in the future? And are you excited about that?
Yeah, I am super excited. I can also share in a second why. So in general, how the process looks like. So at the scale we are operating in, right? So last year, we started basically in April. We acquired the company DeepAR. We started in April with our 3D business, and we delivered 10,000 products in 3D until end of last year, December. This year, we are looking forward to elevate nearly the entire footwear assortment, 46,000 SKUs. Everything new content basically will become 3D content, right? So when you are operating on such a scale, you need to have a fully automated process. So what that means basically, with DeepAR, we are getting the scan into our system and then multiple processes running based on that, basically to auto enrich and auto, let's say, fix certain defects from scanning the rest, but also from creating the mesh and all of those things. It's optimized, right? And yes, we do have also a manual post-production process, if you like, in place, but we are fully focused, and that's part of our business case, to entirely automate this as well. Hopefully with AI technologies, with already during the scanning process we spoke about, right? We maybe can optimize certain things and that's our target, to fully automate the creation process of the digital twin. That's for us an important step. And then we have so-called predefined sceneries, basically, where we have the light setup, we have the angles, how pictures are taken. Pictures are taken is the rendering of the shoe, right? So, and even the model creation for our 3D player, the augmented reality player, everything is automated, and that's where DeepAR's capability come in, basically. And now when we talk about the backgrounds, basically, and how the lighting is set even on the PDP imagery, that's where Zalando creative teams come in. So we do have a creative team focusing on 3D content, basically. And these colleagues, they are designing the sceneries. They know basically what product type. So is it sport? What type of sport is it? For example, is it more it's a fashion product, etc. Depending on what proposition it is, depending on what commodity it is, basically, they design the relative to that belonging background. Today, this is, I would say, still done traditionally, right? With a design mock-up in the beginning, then a 3D artist, expert basically designs the backgrounds. Yes, there is also some automation including, I would say, from our perspective at Zalando, a very manual process in the end, right? Which also brings the limitations that we have, because ideally we want to A/B test multiple backgrounds. Maybe we want to see, based on the customer group looking at it, maybe we want to change these backgrounds, or even maybe depending on the market, we want to change the background as well and have there certain dependencies. But then also our partners, ideally in the future, leverage also the content themselves, and they have an entire different requirement on how background looks like, how animations are done, how the video looks like. And here we really look forward basically to get this AI support and automation also into the creation of this scenery, maybe text to 3D image, etc. This is one way to go and how we see it. But then also when it comes to the entire experience for our customers, the entire rendering is not all we do, right? So nowadays you might have a model wearing the shoe, right? A head-to-toe look. And you have this head-to-toe look in different countries or in different cities, in different styles. It's running a marathon, right? It's hiking on a mountain. It's whatever it is. And that's something where we believe 3D is not for us the most efficient way to do it. We have the product in 3D, and with this, we know the perspectives are always correct, right? We know size and fit in relation is always correct in the 3D. But when we then create, let's say, these visual images, the campaign content, things like this, we are using the 3D asset, but the entire scenery is done with AI. And these combinations between AI and 3D, we believe in a great opportunity and great asset for the future. And that's how we build it currently also.
That's pretty amazing. So basically you're saying is that you use the 3Ds of product to then put it on to AI generated models for
Campaign
that matter.
content
Or
in the end.
okay,
Right.
campaign content. Okay. By the way, I didn't know this. Pretty amazing. Also, one thought going forward, and at the end, I really want to talk about also where you think maybe we're gonna go into 3 to 5 years. I think the listeners being able to listen to you as such an expert, deeply in the weeds for many decades, I think that's an exciting point. Before we get to that, what we get a lot is as well, of course, everyone sees the amazing visuals, and now if you compare, and I look at PDPs every day, and you see what Zalando is doing, and maybe a few others as well, compared to just standard photo on white background. I mean, you cannot unsee it anymore. To me, it's almost like a point of never going back. Now, this may become more automated, economically more viable, and maybe your whole industry will absorb this. Is there some key metrics that you are able to share with our audience? I saw that some numbers are publicly available already, but perhaps just to help measure the impact. What can you say there?
Yeah. Happy to do so. I mean, we look at different angles, right? We not just look at sales, basically. We also look into how our customers engaging with products that come with a more elevated experience. And there we clearly see an impact that our customers engage way more and spend way more time with that. Around 15 to 20% on time spend is increasing, basically, by looking at the assortment longer, by looking at the videos, exploring the products, right? So we even saw augmented reality is quite interesting. Customers usually spend 30 seconds on checking the product on their on how it fits, basically, right, to their style, etc., and how to discover these products. So there's a clear engagement we see. When it comes then more than to the funnel of purchase, basically, there we can see that the add to cart goes up around 3 to 3.5-4%, depending on the category and assortment type, basically. So we clearly see that our customers, especially when it comes to more elevated experiences, there we see customers adding more. But I mentioned before, right, it's not always about adding more products. We also see in certain areas that the conversion is stable, but we clearly see a significant reduction in what customers sending products back, basically in returns, right? So, and that is what I mentioned with, we do see some certain, we call it top line, but also bottom line impact on our business that this type of content basically brings to our assortment. And yes, that's the reason why we do it, right? So we first of all start always with our customers, and then we listen to our customers, and we basically help our customers to get a better experience when they discover products.
Yeah, super interesting, and thanks for sharing these metrics with us. And I think it's greatly aligned also with one of Zalando's core values, which is more sustainable processes. I think that's a great value add for not just the company, but for just the wider good, I would say. And so I think this is great to see, as well as companies are more and more striving for that too. Now, coming to let's say one of the final points that I make now, everything that we have been discussing for many brands and for the industry as a whole is the future. I mean, it's notorious an industry that is maybe rather slow to adapt or really make bold moves, and a bit hesitant. Now you're showing that, okay, this is the new future. What is sort of, let's say, the next future, 3 to maybe 5 years ahead? You mentioned, okay, 3D and AI more coming together. Maybe some tools can help speed up some process more. Besides that, the obvious organic, just things getting better all the time, especially with AI. I think this has been shown. What are you excited about? Let's say, if you think about the bigger picture in content creation, what it means for Zalando going forward.
Yeah. So I do. So it's multiple. I think the development is, you will see in multiple areas. On one hand, the combination of 3D and AI will be something that you for sure will see significantly scale, especially in Zalando, but I also do think in the industry, right? Because the 3D brings the opportunity of having high quality and accuracy on the product, while the AI brings basically the creativity and the easy way of creating very engaging content, right? So, but then having the right product display that ensures the quality, that's something the 3D will deliver and help basically the AI. So that's number one thing. Secondly, what we at Zalando see is that we are combining things in the future. So 3D is something we are, as you know, we speak about, like we are leveraging a lot in the customer experience, in the customer content experience, and how we create content, so in the operations. But also we have a team focusing on size and fit and size related returns. And these colleagues are also leveraging 3D to a big extent, right? And it's an initiative that we are scaling now at Zalando, because we do see the virtual fitting, how we call it, basically, that you can take pictures of your body. Basically, you can scan your body more or less, right? Data stays on your phone and you get an accurate 3D model of your body, and then you can swap products on it. These products were before scanned in 3D in multiple different sizes for each product, right? And so you can see how good or not good the product fits to you. And we see significant impact on reducing returns when we offering this experience to our customers. So today we have two different ways on how this experience is created. I do believe for Zalando, we are looking into scaling both areas by becoming more and more jointly together, so that you are using and leveraging this data more going forward. But this is only one side of the things. We are expanding also 3D into other categories and commodity groups, because we see our customers quite like the experience, number one, and number two, the way of how easily you can content creation, how you can automate the content creation once you have a 3D asset is really a game changer. It's a difference for advertisement. You can create every day a new teaser by just changing the product itself, right? And having a way more personalized experience for your customers. You can get personalization based on markets, on brand followership, et cetera, et cetera. So the way how you automate and create content becomes quite a unique and a very different one. And that's where we see the benefits going forward. Especially when it comes to experimentation, also data insights on customer behavior based on content. That's something where we see the future, or where we invest also heavily in the future by saying, okay, we have all of these opportunities. How can we now leverage them beyond the pure experience we have today, right? So how can we change content easily? How can we measure impact? How can we learn how customers behave? To then also feed these learnings back into the content creation process in the end.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the future that has been unlocked, and I think you mentioned at the beginning, like this week, we can round it all up. 3D has been around for decades already, since the advent of video games. I mean, 20 or more years. And only recently we saw kind of the merging with AI to make it really, really possible. I think this is an exciting development, and yeah, couldn't be more excited about the future on our end for sure. It seems like you are excited as well. So with this, Matthias, thanks for your time. I think it's fantastic that you joined us. I enjoyed the conversation a lot. I hope our listeners as well. And yeah, I hope to see you soon and continue the great collaboration.
Thank you so much. And thanks for having me. Exciting times ahead.
This was fantastic having Matthias from Zalando here with us today. Lots and lots of insights. And this is exactly what we hope to achieve with this podcast called Inside All Sides. Really going a level deeper, speaking with the true pioneers and experts who are building the things and not just talking about it. Matthias certainly is one of these experts. And it was our first session on e-commerce, where us as a company, we historically come from. Lots of more content is planned from Inside All Sides team. And yeah, can't wait to share the next conversations with you in a few weeks. Thank you for staying on, and see you soon.